There's a lot of forces in the world that said, well, you can't do just what you love doing. And I said, well, I'm happy that 95% of the world buys into that because it creates such a wonderful space for the people who decide they're going to be an exception to the rule. I'm going to say something right now that's going to make you very, very excited. Self-managing company.
So a self-managing company is a company that's fully leveraged and supportive of the entrepreneur.
You know, a self-managing company means you just get to do what you love to do.
What it is it's a company that frees you up.
So self-managing company is how it sounds. It's the company is managing itself without you, the entrepreneur, having to be there on a day-to-day basis so that the entrepreneur can then spend his or her time where it's best needed for the company moving forward.
If you take all your dreams of improvement where you are right now as an entrepreneur and you add them up and you look at them from all directions, it adds up to one thing. It adds up to a company that you want in the future where it's entirely managed by other people so that you are completely freed up to focus on the activities that you find most fascinating and motivating. And that's the simple formula for a great entrepreneurial career. Not only a great entrepreneurial career for the individual themselves, but for everybody they come into contact with. So I'm going to show you a single concept that really changes this, and this is almost like the microchip that is underneath all the growth in Strategic Coach. It's a single thought process, and you're going to get it in about 5 minutes. Okay? You will be a changed person 5 minutes from now, and I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So this is you, okay? And you have goals, and you see in the future things that are bigger and better. How many of you right now are listening to me with a half brain, and you're listening half to what I have, that it might be possible, but what's really on your mind is the bigger and better that you have in a lot of different areas of your life. Business life, personal life, you have bigger and better. How many of you have a bigger and better in your mind that you walked in the room here this morning? And what it means, there's a future you that you have a very clear picture of, and intellectually you've totally engaged with this, but emotionally you're also committed to it, but you're frustrated because you're not getting there. How many of you have that? Yeah, you have this. Okay, I have this, okay? All humans have this. 7.7 billion now is the... And so what I'm describing is not something that's peculiar to entrepreneurs. It's everybody. All humans are born with a drive, I think it's DNA inside human beings, to become more capable. How many of you, ever since you can remember, you wanted to become more capable? And that means that you have to have this ability to actually see into the future, see yourself, and you can measure a difference. So there's a measurement to it, there's a time frame to it, and also life is better when you have that because more things become more capable. So everybody's pretty clear so far? Now here's where all the trouble comes in. When you have a bigger and better goal, you immediately say, now, how am I going to do that? And this is where all the trouble in the world starts. And the reason is that the educational system from age 4, I understand now that junior kindergarten, they have proms, you know, at the end of junior kindergarten, 4 years old. Really wealthy kindergartens, they go to Paris on a class trip. But from 4 years old to, let's say, 21 years old, some people 25 years old, I had a classmate at college where I went to college. At 34, he was still working on advanced degrees, and he had 4 PhDs before he ever went into the marketplace because he was worried that he wouldn't know how to do things when he got into the actual marketplace. So the entire educational system that we have today was mostly created for a factory-based, bureaucracy-based economy, which has more or less ceased to exist, where you were graded on you doing the how and getting really, really good at a particular type of how. How many of you can remember that? And if you asked to actually work with someone else, that was called cheating. So, can I take my test with so-and-so? That's cheating. Can someone else help me with my paper? That's cheating. When you come to do everything, so all along for the first 20 years of everybody's lives, it's about learning how to do something. And then you get into the marketplace and you hope that the how that you've learned actually will be paid for out in the marketplace. So the big shift that we make in Strategic Coach, instead, when you do bigger and better, you say to yourself, not how, but who. Who can do my how? How many of you, if you look at your actual success as an entrepreneur, it's where you refrain from asking, how am I going to do this, but you say, who's going to do this for me? How many of you, your biggest breakthroughs, if I go back 10 years, 15 years, how many of you, all your breakthroughs have come when you refrain from you being the person who did the how, and you actually identified a who can do the how? Our training from childhood is not to do who, not how. Our training is to become better and better at the how. But as we can see with automation and with technology, a lot of the hows that can be described actually disappear over time. The value isn't there. What we have here is that if you follow the how basis in life, I'm going to get better and better, and I'm going to get smarter as an individual. What's going to happen is your life is going to be mostly, as you go along, irritating and okay. At best, it'll be okay. At worst, it'll be irritating. How many of you feel certain irritations? And you'd like to actually free yourself up from irritating and okay. Because at a certain point, you're going to want to retire. Because you wake up on January 1st, and you look ahead 365 days, and you'll say to yourself, this is never going to change. This is never going to get any better. And a lot of people are feeling that. What who, not how does is actually make the future about your future. Okay, so I don't know the goals that people have because that's really unique to you. And so everybody in the room here is working on a unique future. But if you do it how, it's not unique. It's like everybody else. But if it's who, there's no limit to the who's that you can actually bring into your life. As your goals get bigger, every bigger goal triggers new who's. Some of those are inside your company. We now have virtual companies. We now have ways that you can connect around the world. Some people, our clients work with people in India. They work with people in Vietnam. They work with people in the Philippines. And this is just part of their team, which they can do because of electronics and microtechnology. Now, let's go the other. So what happens is that there's a fatigue factor. And I was getting fatigued, okay, because all those, transactions, scarcity, I was living in that world. Now, what I'd like to show you is what happens when you go the other direction. You don't do the how, you do the who does the how. And they do the how better than you could do the how. And that's the whole point here, is that there's something that you're uniquely good at. And in the program, we talk about a concept of unique ability. There's an area of activity that you absolutely love doing. It's actually what attracted you to go out as an entrepreneur in the first place. It's actually when you have wins in your life, you're actually operating according to an activity or a series of activities that really are energizing to you. So it's very fascinating, motivating, that once you switch over to the who, not how concept, and what happens is that your life just energizes you. One of the bad habits that entrepreneurs have when we first meet them, they get in touch with Strategic Coach, or we get in touch with them. One of their worst habits is that they think that working harder and working longer, in other words, working overtime, is the solution to them achieving bigger goals. And of course, there's nothing from my 46 years of coaching entrepreneurs. I've personally coached more than 6,000 entrepreneurs. And I don't have any example of anyone working harder and longer and achieving bigger goals in a way that actually does them any good. They can do it. In other words, they can pick one part of their life, usually it's revenues or profits, and they'll focus on it, but it's at the cost of their relationships with their family, and with their team members. And so they overload one part of their life, but it deprives them of any success in the other part of their life. And there's a reason for that, because your brain gets tired. So there's a certain point where you're creative, and then after doing it for a short period of time, usually I have about 2 hours of really all-out creative activity in a day. And usually it happens before noon because I get up early. And so after 12 o'clock, I never expect that I'm going to do any creative work. I can do work that's predictable. I can do work that I already know how to do it, but I can't do creative work. And so you have to know when you're on and when you're off. Trying to do your best work just isn't going to work. So you might as well do some personal time or do something different. And what we find is that the more free time that entrepreneurs take, the more creative they become. And the more creative they become, the more successful they are in terms of revenues and profits. So I can just give you a simple tip that working longer and working harder isn't going to get you to your goals. Working less, but being very energetic and creative when you're working less, actually produces 10 times greater results.
The number one thing that every entrepreneur has to focus on when you start your business is not the product you're selling, not the service you're selling, but actually who are the people that you can uniquely help. In other words, it's not about you, it's actually about your customers. It's about your clients. And what you want to do as quickly as possible is to go into their mind and see what their particular bigger and better future actually looks like. And just by going there, and we have a process called the Dan Sullivan question, and basically you ask the question, if you're looking 3 years down the road, and we're having a discussion 3 years from now, and you're looking back to today, what has to happen in your life, both personally and professionally, for you to feel happy with your progress? Now, immediately when you ask that question and the person answers the question, you've created enormous value for that person, and you've immediately differentiated yourself from anybody else who's going to approach them, because you're not talking about you, you're talking about them, and you're actually giving them the first opportunity to actually visualize, to intellectually engage with a much bigger and better future. And then you're giving them a chance to actually commit to that future. Now, not everything that they want in their future relates to your product or service, but probably some of it does. And to the degree that you can just line up your immediate product and service with some part of someone's bigger and better future, then you're in business. And they'll pay you for this. But not only that, you've given them a sense of the future that no one else has. So for all entrepreneurs, the first thing you have to sell to anyone is sell them on their bigger and better future, and then keep reinforcing what they've told you about themselves. And not only will it be incredibly valuable right now, but they'll want to keep you in their life for as long as they can.
if you're in a position and you have a choice between a new capability or more cash, always take the new capability. And just to go through and explain why that's so important, because with a new capability, multiplying the capabilities that you already have, you're going to create more cash. But if you get more cash, it may not create a new capability. And people say, yeah, but I need the cash. And I said, well, then you're not in a position to make the choice. But if you are in a position, then you have total cash confidence and you don't need the cash, always go for the capability. And so, you know, in certain areas at Strategic Coach, we get an offer of acquiring a capability outside. There's a choice between the capability and the cash. We always take the capability because we have a lot of capabilities and we have cash confidence. So here's a thought for you. One of your biggest goals as an entrepreneur should be develop cash confidence, so you have the freedom when a new capability comes available to you. The cash doesn't matter right now because the cash will be much bigger later on. So I'm just telling you, this is a phenomenal jump for an entrepreneur where cash doesn't really matter in the short run, and you can fully take advantage of a new capability, and that will create much more cash in the future. So when faced with a choice of cash or capability, always choose the capability. I want to tell you why change in the world is a very good thing. Change creates a wonderful opportunity, which is called complexity. When things change in your marketplace, in your industry, for your prospects, for your clients, the amount of complexity immediately increases in their life. And the vast majority of people, as a result, because of the complexity, don't like change. But if you, as an entrepreneur, can develop a mindset that everybody else's complexity is your opportunity, and then you train yourself not only in how you think about yourself, how you think about your entrepreneurial company, to be very simple, to have very simple approaches, very simple solutions, then every bit of complexity that is a huge problem for clients and customers in the marketplace actually is your biggest opportunities. This is a fascinating period of time, and you have to think about your life as an entrepreneur, not to try to avoid change and not to think that complexity is a bad thing, but it's actually a challenge to you to actually become simpler and simpler in your thinking about your future. So our world has created this enormous complexity, but now what we want to do is to realize that every time you enter into a complex situation, then you have to use your intelligence and your ingenuity to come up with new, simple ways of actually looking at that complexity. And the reason why this is so good is because this is how we make our living in the world. Everybody that is willing to write us a check as an entrepreneur, our company, how we get paid as a company, comes from the fact that people are dealing with different kinds of complexity that they don't have the ability to actually come to grips with, and that what we develop is new ways of thinking, new ways of actually executing, new ways of achieving highly desirable results for our clients, and what we bring in every case to their complexity is a profound sense of simplicity. Okay, so there's two things we have to think about here. One is you can't sell simplicity if you're complicated, if you're confused, if you're distracted. So in order to become valuable in a complex marketplace, you have to learn how to become very simple as an individual. You have to learn how to become very simple as an organization, as an entrepreneurial company. And immediately when you take your personal simplicity and you take your company simplicity out into a complex world, and people will immediately say, oh, they have a insight into this that we don't have. They have a method, they have an approach that we don't have. We've grown a company 250 times in 30 years, and neither Babs nor me are managers. We are not good at management at all, but both of us are very good at leadership. Best way to think about this is present and future. So management is actually managing everything that is going on right now so that you're freed up from it. Okay, so really as an entrepreneur, you don't want to be a manager, you want to be a leader. So you're the person who grows the future, and that's what leadership is growing the future that's much bigger than the present. And what you need is everything that's been achieved so far, especially cash flow, is that someone managed so the level of cash flow that you have is secured and repeated, but it's all known. And managers love taking care and optimizing what already exists. Leaders want to be freed up from what already exists, and they want to create an even bigger future, and they have to be freed up from all management capabilities to the greatest degree. I mean, there's always some things where you have to consult, you have to be in meetings, and you have to use your leadership skills to inspire the managers to understand what the optimum results are right now. So corporations, the vast majority of people in corporations are not leaders. They don't need leaders. They need lots and lots of managers who make sure that what the corporation has achieved. And so, but in an entrepreneurial company, you wouldn't be an entrepreneur if you weren't a leader. You took a risk, you had a vision, you went out, you created something new. But then a lot of entrepreneurs get totally trapped because they have to take off their leadership hat and put on their manager hat. And most entrepreneurs I know are not really, really great managers. If they were great managers, they would have become a better and better manager in other organizations, but they're not a manager, they're a leader. And even people who have good management skills, it's not the most valuable thing that you do. It's the leadership. And think about the difference between being in control and being in charge. You want other people to control what already exists. You want to be in charge. And charge, if you think of the term, charge kind of has an attitude of electricity. You know, that you're electrifying your organization so that it will jump to another level. So neither Babs nor I are managers and strategic coach. Babs is the leader of the company, and I'm the leader of the program. And we have this collaboration going back even before the strategic coach program, workshop program started. But we've always been the leaders of the company, but we are certainly not the managers of the company. So this is the biggest distinction you can make. And just understanding the difference, then you can just focus on your unique abilities that are related to being a leader, and then finding who are great managers. And they just love managing for someone who's a great leader. So it's a perfect collaboration, but you just have to know that it's not good for your company to get bogged down in management, because it won't grow and it won't be an electrifying place to work. It won't give other people a sense of charge about it. What's the difference between entrepreneurs who are successful and those who never seem to be successful? They're unsuccessful. And I always have had the same answer, and I've had this answer for 40 years. It's habits. It's what people do automatically every day as a result of previous activities of focusing their mind and practicing really, really good actions which become automatic. So what a habit is a successful action which at first you have to do consciously, and may be difficult when you first do it because it doesn't seem natural. But the more that you repeat this action, practice and improve and keep doing it day after day, it actually becomes automatic behavior. And we have many areas in our life which we know on a daily basis is actually governed by habit. You, as an individual, are completely filled up with habits. They account for every 24 hours that you live, and everybody else in the world they are completely filled up with habits. And the only difference between you and anyone else in the world is the nature of your habits. You each have a complete set of habits that fills up every second of your life. And so the question is, are the habits that you filled yourself up with, are they good habits or bad habits? And what I mean by that, do they produce really great results, or do they really produce negative results? And what I'd like, and somebody said to me once, you know, he saw a drunk on the street, someone who was a severe alcoholic, and he says, you know, that person just doesn't have any discipline, you know. And I said, well, it's not about discipline, it's really about habit. And as far as being a successful drunk, he's probably got an enormous number of very successful habits for being a drunk, including, I bet when the liquor store opens in the morning at 9 o'clock or whatever it is, I bet he never is late. And he always knows how to be a complete alcoholic every day. He's got every skill down pat. He's got all the knowledge necessary. It's just that in the end, that particular set of habits doesn't produce a good result. It's very destructive, very self-destructive. But you can't say the person isn't disciplined. They're amazingly disciplined. You can't say they don't have any habits. They've got an amazing set of habits. They're just not good habits. And another person, completely opposite conditions, completely opposite outcomes, they just have 100% filled up with habits that always produce good results, better results, bigger results. And that's what I get across to all of my entrepreneurs in Strategic Coach. It's all about habit. Don't worry about, things outside of yourself. Just concentrate on the behavior that you can make automatic so that you always perform successfully regardless of whether you're conscious or not conscious. It's always the difference between success and non-success is strictly a matter of the habits that you've chosen to cultivate and make automatic for your daily life, your daily result. The key factor for success for all kinds of entrepreneurs, doesn't matter what the industry is, doesn't matter what the business is, doesn't matter what the entrepreneur's role is, the key to success is staying focused on the right things on a daily basis. And my biggest strategy, and this may seem very strange, I don't fill up my schedule. I often hear entrepreneurs, I want to get the maximum benefit of the time I have every day. And I find that when you're completely tightly scheduled, you only have time and focus and attention for the work you're already doing. In other words, it's just the existing projects, it's just the existing opportunities, and you only have available to you the existing capabilities. But where your growth comes from is actually building into your schedule a 30% in each day when your time is not scheduled, so that you can be aware of new opportunities, capabilities, and new possibilities of using your existing capabilities and resources in a more effective way. So I have a saying that tightly scheduled entrepreneurs cannot transform themselves because they don't have any slack in their system. Now, to kind of reinforce only using 70% of my time every day, I only hold myself accountable for getting 3 things done each day. Okay, so the day before, I'll say, okay, I've got tomorrow, I've got this amount of time. What are 3 things that I can absolutely get done tomorrow? And that'll get me to 100%. And a lot of entrepreneurs really rebel against this, and they said, well, you probably have time to get 10 things done. And I said, no, I won't get 10 things done. I might get 6 things done, which is more than 3, but I feel badly if I've assigned myself 10 things and I get 6 done, because there's a tendency that I failed. I didn't get the other 4 done. I don't give myself credit for the 6 I got done. I beat myself up. And so I never give myself a goal that I can't achieve, and achieve with a sense of focus, a sense of energy, and then a real sense of completion when I'm actually finished. And I just noticed this craziness of packing the schedule with using up all your time, but also assigning yourself accomplishments for each day that you can't possibly achieve. And if you were okay with that, it wouldn't be a problem, but you're not okay with this because you have a sense of failing every night. People who choose to become entrepreneurs are betting their entire future on their own capabilities because they are confident that they can achieve much bigger and better results on their own. But as they become more successful, they also become increasingly busier, quickly getting buried in non-productive details and getting trapped in complex, non-profitable, energy-draining activities. Those entrepreneurs who have escaped these complexities, however, have done so by organizing their entire personal and organizational progress around a concept called unique ability. And unique ability means 4 things. 1, doing what you are passionate about. The biggest entrepreneurial reward is being increasingly successful at doing what you love. 2, being a hero to a growing number of great customers and clients in the marketplace whose greater success will increase your success. 3, being passionate and a hero in ways that continually multiply your income and your reputation. And 4, combining being passionate, being a hero, and multiplying your results into 10 times growth. Now, the moment that unique ability becomes the entrepreneur's guiding principle and operating strategy, he or she can immediately begin achieving breakthroughs in simplicity, creativity, teamwork, and productivity. The simpler things become, the more their results multiply. The first thing to achieving this increased simplicity and multiplier growth is right away to identify 5 things you're doing right now that prevent achievement and actually drain your energy. Now, over the next 90 days, eliminate these activities. Stop doing them, delegate them to someone with unique ability in that area, or outsource them. At the same time, pick the 5 activities that you love doing the most, that create value for others, and that increase your income, and then focus your time and energy on doing more of them. At the end of the first 90-day period, review your progress and then do the exercise over again. Keep eliminating what isn't unique ability and keep expanding what is. Within half a year, you will notice a significant leap in your personal sense of morale, your momentum, and motivation, and you will notice a big jump in your decision-making, your creativity, your communication, your productivity, profitability, and most of all, teamwork. When entrepreneurs simplify everything they do just within the framework of their unique abilities, all of their teamwork continually multiplies across markets, across industries, and around the world. The 21st century is increasingly the greatest period in history for working and living as an entrepreneur. Those who focus all their time, efforts, and teamwork on their unique abilities will enjoy entire lifetimes that are increasingly successful, satisfying, and significant.